Hello everyone, welcome back to Jikook Moments. Have you ever seen a moment that looks so simple, yet somehow feels too real to ignore? A small interaction without a big stage or dramatic spotlight, yet it leaves an impression that's hard to explain. Recently, many people's attention was drawn to a simple moment from Park Jimin. Not from a grand concert or a major event, but from a challenge video shared by an old friend. In the fast-moving flow of social media content, that moment could have easily passed by unnoticed. But what made it different wasn't the video, it was Jimin's response. He didn't just like the video. He also left a short comment, "Thank you, my friend." Simple, yet meaningful. That one sentence carried more depth than it seemed. There was warmth in it, a trace of a long-standing connection, one that existed long before Jimin became globally known. It didn't feel like a formal public reply. It felt like a small glimpse into a real relationship he has quietly maintained despite how much his life has changed. The reply he received was just as sincere. "Take care of yourself, okay? Thank you." A brief exchange, perhaps ordinary at first glance. But for those who look closer, there's a kind of warmth that can't be fabricated. This wasn't a staged interaction. It felt natural. But before people could fully process that moment, something else happened. Jeon Jungkook appeared. Not in an obvious way, not through big statements, but through small actions that somehow spoke louder. He liked the video. He reposted it. More than once. A coincidence? Or something more than just a casual interaction? His quick response immediately caught attention. Some even jokingly called it 5G level speed, a lighthearted way to describe how fast and responsive he was to something related to Jimin. But behind the jokes, there was something harder to ignore: attentiveness. Without needing any explanation, Jungkook's actions felt spontaneous, yet consistent. As if he's always present, even in the smallest details others might overlook. This didn't feel random. It felt familiar. Some people may try to simplify the situation. There are those who think Jungkook only reacted because the video used a BTS song. That explanation isn't entirely wrong. He is known to interact with content that features their music. But when you look deeper, it doesn't fully explain everything we're seeing. Because if you pay closer attention, there are many small pieces that connect. Jungkook isn't a stranger to Jimin's social circle. He's known to be familiar with some of Jimin's close friends, including those from his school days. This suggests that their connection goes beyond just the two of them. It extends into each other's social lives. One example that highlights this is when Jimin attended a friend's performance to show support, proving that he still maintains relationships from his past. But what's interesting is that this connection doesn't stop with Jimin. Jungkook has also been seen spending time with that same circle of friends. One moment that drew attention was when they gathered for a dinner during White Day in South Korea. A day often considered a continuation of Valentine's Day. Gatherings like this don't just happen randomly. They require comfort, trust, and a sense of closeness that feels natural. When these pieces are put together, a clearer picture begins to form. Jimin and Jungkook are not only close on a personal level, they are also connected within each other's social worlds. They share spaces, time, and even overlapping circles of friends. Their interactions with each other's friends further reinforce the idea that this connection extends beyond just two individuals. However, behind this warmth, there's another reality that can't be ignored. Every small interaction that appears in public often triggers exaggerated reactions. What starts as something simple can quickly turn into long debates. This isn't new. Almost anyone seen connected to Jimin, whether old friends or new acquaintances, often becomes the center of intense attention. This time is no different. A friend who simply shared a video suddenly became a spotlight. The comment sections filled with opinions. Not just reactions, but interpretations that kept evolving. Small details were turned into evidence. Brief interactions became the foundation for bigger theories. Slowly, the line between fact and assumption began to blur. At a certain point, this goes beyond normal enthusiasm. It becomes a pattern, where everything is interpreted from a single perspective, and anything different is quickly dismissed. What's more concerning is that the impact doesn't stop online. Jimin's friends are not public figures who chose to live under constant attention. They are ordinary individuals with private lives. Yet because of their connection to Jimin, they get pulled into a wave of attention that isn't always healthy. Judgments, overanalysis, even criticism from strangers becomes something they have to face. This kind of pressure may not always be visible, but it is real. Every interaction can be misinterpreted. Every moment can be magnified. Over time, this can affect how someone presents themselves in public. What was once genuine can begin to feel burdensome. Jimin himself seems to have become more careful, more selective in what he shares, more protective of the boundary between his personal and public life. Not because he has something to hide, but because he understands the consequences of everything he shows. He knows that anyone seen with him could become a target. He knows that simple relationships can turn into exhausting speculation. In the end, this is no longer just about one video or one interaction. It's about how personal space slowly shrinks under public pressure. When in reality, there should be nothing wrong with showing moments with the people closest to you. Personal relationships shouldn't become a risk. There are boundaries that deserve respect. There are spaces that should remain private. Ironically, much of this is done in the name of love and support. But if you look deeper, this kind of behavior moves away from what those words truly mean. Love doesn't force. Love doesn't attack. Love doesn't control. And love doesn't turn someone's life into endless speculation. Healthy support should be simple yet meaningful, appreciating their work, spreading positivity, and respecting boundaries, allowing them space to remain human beyond the spotlight. In the end, what's truly needed isn't more theories. It's empathy. Because without empathy, even the most sincere moments can become exhausting, for those living through them and for those who see them clearly. And maybe, in the middle of all the speculation, theories, and debates, we miss the simplest thing. Not everything needs to be explained. Not every moment needs to be analyzed. Some things are meant to be felt. Because in the end, this isn't about who reacts faster or who appears more often. It's about presence. About a connection that doesn't always need to be announced, but can always be felt. And behind it all, they are still human. Real relationships, real emotions, and real boundaries. So, what do you think? Is this just a coincidence, or a small glimpse of something much deeper? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more Jikook Moments updates.